Welcome to LOA Today. I'm Walt here with Louis D'Souza on this Monday, March the 11th, 2019. It's 8 a.m. in New York, 5 a.m. in Los Angeles. It is actually 2 p.m., I believe, in London, and Sydney, Australia, somewhere around midnight or so. But wherever you are in the world, thank you for joining us for another episode of LOA Today, your daily dose of happy. And you're probably wondering why I'm not sure about the times, because I usually am, because we just did daylight savings time switch here in the U.S., and I know other parts of the world haven't done that, so it's like my mental calculation all of a sudden is off. Like, oh my God, what am I going to do? Fortunately, that's probably the worst thing that's going to happen today, so it's a good day. And Mondays are supposed to be good days because that's how we get our weeks off to a good start, right, Louis? I mean, we're supposed to feel good
Absolutely.
about it. That's like vitally important. And actually, that ties into I kind of have a topic in mind. Today's mainly a Q&A. So, obviously, if you're listening to the live stream, feel free to type in questions and bring up topics. I'll be glad to discuss them. But mainly, from my perspective, the topic today is taking control of your own mind. And it's something that everyone needs to do. It's something that can take some time learning how to do. There are a lot of modalities for it. There's, meditation, there are mirror exercises, affirmations, there's a whole bunch of things you can do. But it all comes down to one thing, doesn't it? It comes down to taking control of your own mind and saying, you know what? I am going to decide what it is I'm going to focus on instead of my subconscious mind deciding what I'm going to focus on. It's going to be me. Of course, my subconscious is part of me, but nevertheless, it's just taking control. And I don't know about you. I think that's an important thing.
Yeah, absolutely. I just want to say good morning, everybody, all you LOA fans, and good morning, Walt. And also, Walt, it's 12 o'clock in London, not 2. I had to
It's
correct you.
12. Okay, I had the other direction. Okay, sorry about that.
I'll
Okay,
forgive you this time.
I appreciate it.
So, yeah, top of the morning to everybody. I'm really excited about talking about, yeah, like the topic of focusing the mind. Yeah.
Mm.
And all the things you brought up. So I'd like to dissect them and just go through them a little bit.
Yeah, sure, let's
Uh,
do it.
so one of the things you said was, we want to control the mind. So what does control the mind mean? Let's just break that down into a little more clarity.
That's a good question. I guess for
So
me, taking control means I'm going to decide what I'm focusing on at all times instead of just going by default or going by some pre-programmed tape that's playing or going by some experience that I experienced in the past and kept focusing on. Now I'm continuing to focus on it. It's me taking control. That's the way I look at it. But I have a feeling you're going to give me another insight. So what is it?
who's me, Walt?
Oh, we're going to
Good.
get really esoteric here. Okay.
Well, the whole thing boils down to digging back into statements that society has made forever, like me, I, controlling mind, all those kind of things.
Mm,
You need to just dig back and back and back and to see what actually you're saying, because we've kind of thrown or banded these words around for so long without having the clarity of what they actually mean. So, um, where shall we start? Shall we start with controlling your mind? So, controlling your mind starts, in my opinion, with understanding that you create your own reality with thoughts.
yeah, that's a key portion. If you don't have that, you don't have a whole lot to work with.
You don't have a whole lot to work with. So,
Mhm.
it's really, really important to get down to basics. And the implications of that statement that we control our reality with our thoughts is massive. It's mind blowing. It's off the charts. Okay, so you start realizing that you can really, truly create and have anything you want. And that is such a far cry from where we used to believe or understand we were, that it is gargantuous in its proportions. It is really, really quite a journey to get from where you are to starting to feel that kind of understanding.
Mm.
So then you've got to go to thoughts create your reality, and then you talked about subconscious. So I want to give my explanation for subconscious again.
Sure.
Then subconscious, of course, a lot of people say, or this is the perception out there in society. And this guy was talking on the internet the other day, and he was saying to Abram that he'd been to many courses, and on these courses they were saying to him that 80 to 90% of your life is controlled by your subconscious mind. And Abram was saying, of course, no, there's no such thing as a subconscious, or more accurately, the word that he was using was unconscious mind. Okay, so what Abram was saying is that any active vibration you have comes from a conscious thought. And if it is what you of what you don't want, you're likely to be talking about something subconscious or unconscious. In other words, because you don't want it, you don't want to take responsibility that you created it in the first place.
Of course. Why would we want to take responsibility?
Exactly. No, it's a subconscious, unconscious doing it. It's not me. It's not me. No. So we need to really clarify that whole idea of what subconscious and unconscious is. It's generally a thought that you have thought that you didn't want, that is an active vibration which is popping up and manifesting in your life. Okay? So you start realizing, as you said in a few podcasts, is that, gosh, can't I get away with anything? No,
right.
You
can't. One of my favorite jokes.
Nothing, absolutely nothing. And when you get that, you realize that you can change everything. All right. So there's a great plus side to taking full responsibility for your thoughts.
Well, one of the reasons I think that joke is funny for me, I don't know if it's funny for the audience, but it's funny for me, is because when I say to myself, oh, I can't get away with anything, what I'm really saying is this thought keeps coming back and haunting me, and I can't seem to get rid of it, which is basically me continuing to focus on it, but that's not the way it seems. It seems like it's haunting me. It seems like this thing just won't go away no matter what I do. And
you've got these evil entities around you, man.
I know, they're all over
They're going to tear you apart.
And it's a very confusing perspective to have, because when you're in that perspective, well, first of all, it is a disempowered perspective, but it's also a perspective of
very true.
Out of control. That's when I was talking about control, that's out of control. It's like, oh my God, I just can't seem to marshal any of my resources because I keep focusing on the same thing over and over again. Of course, I don't actually add the second part of that comment to the sentence. That's always kind of implied, and I kind of forget about it. But, there it is. I'm just continuing to focus on it over and over again. I was experiencing it this morning. Yesterday, Louise and I were watching the movie that came out, we're actually rewatching it for about the third time, Bohemian Rhapsody, the story of Queen, the rock band.
That is amazing, isn't it? Oh,
that's a good movie, really good movie.
It changes your impression of that song completely.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Well, actually, I always had I liked the song, but I had a negative impression of the words because it's about killing somebody, and I really have no desire to kill anybody. But other than that, I loved it. But the problem was
detail that they went in to make that song.
Tremendous detail. And Freddie Mercury was definitely on the right track when he played. I think it was the aria from Carmen, to point out that we need to make this operatic. We need to make this have some volume and some power to it, and so forth. Which, of course, is what Queen is all about. Lots of wattage, shall we say? But when I got past playing the movie and we were enjoying it and it was done, and then I went to bed and I woke up this morning, Bohemian Rhapsody is playing in my head. And my first reaction was to say, oh, stop it, just turn it off. Well, that didn't turn it off. Amazing.
What a surprise. Maybe you understand a bit about the law of attraction.
But it's an annoying thing. You should be able to say, turn it off, and it should be able to turn it off, and it doesn't, right? Oh, no, wait a minute, I'm feeling powerless again. Because it's so easy to forget. Oh, all I got to do is change my focus. That's all I got to do.
Change the subject.
But, and even that, if we're not used to changing the subject, can seem like an overwhelming task, because the way we often will change the subject in our earliest days of learning how to do this is, okay, I'm going to think about the calculator. Okay, I'm thinking about the calculator. There, I'm done. And then Bohemian Rhapsody comes back into the mind.
Yep.
Oh, wait. Oh, jeez. I didn't totally take my attention away. I did it partially for a moment, but I didn't build up a 17-second or 14-second or whatever it is span of time to actually get a new thought going. I just kind of, I focused on it for a moment and then I was done. And that's not necessarily enough.
Yeah.
You got to actually focus. You got to stay there. You got to stay, laser line focus.
And a calculator is not something you particularly love, I don't think. It's not going to grab your attention very much.
Probably not. No, I mean it does sit here because I do use it, but even when I'm using it for 5 seconds at a time, so it doesn't really become a major part of my life.
No. No, I mean, taking some subject that you really, really love can be a massive advantage to you. So, and finding subjects that you love and then milking them, and then because you've milked them, you've activated them stronger in the law, for the universal law of attraction to respond to, then it's easier to go milk them at a later stage. So you get these different topics which you start having when you practice the law of attraction, which are, milking the sweet honey of the great thoughts that you have, and you start having a collection of them, and then you start using them as set points of attraction to go to when you are stuck in something that is holding you back in some shape or form. The other option you had for Bohemian Rhapsody is to see the beauty in it, is to
Sure.
listen to the same subject but in a different way, and really appreciate it, because it is an incredible piece of music, and there are aspects of it you could definitely try and enjoy. So you can put your attention on those aspects you enjoy about it as well. So that's another way of doing it. So,
Of course, that also keeps me focused on Bohemian Rhapsody.
yeah, but again, on the positive side.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
But
so
I'd already made the decision. I was done with it. I wanted to turn it off.
that's fine.
Yeah, but the off switch didn't work.
So, well, let me teach you about the law of attraction. When you say no to something, you're saying yes to something you don't want.
Oh, of course. Absolutely. Oh,
It's an important point for a lot of listeners to really
it's an important thing
grasp
for me.
that little thing, because it slips in everywhere, doesn't it?
God,
Everywhere.
it's crazy. I literally I made that mistake this morning. I did it this morning. I mean, how long have I've been talking about law of attraction now? First thing I tried this morning was to turn it off. Like, did I not learn anything over the last 12 years? It's amazing. It's just amazing.
It goes back to my mentor's statement to me once upon a time. He said, "Yeah, I understand this all intellectually, and it's all great, but it's not working very well for me." She said, "Louis, practice, 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 practice." She went on for half an hour. I said, "Okay, Jan, I got it. I got it. But it left a stark impression on me, and it's once you understand how to change a subject, practice it. Once step 3 is all about redoing. Step 4 is all about redoing step 3. It's redoing the allowing, redoing the focusing on what you want, redoing. It's a very, very important step in the 5-step, 6-step, 7-step, 8-step process that they've now got.
Maybe they have now. I don't even know.
I think they do have about 8 or 9 now.
It's so simple. There are only 8 or 9 steps.
Well, it is simple. There's 3 steps. And then if you want to, you can go 4. You can take it to the level of simplicity you want, or complexity. Which is what I like. It's the same thing about this Jinshin Jitsu, this energy work that I've been doing. You really can do it simply or complexly, depending on what your mind needs that day. Yeah. So controlling your focus. Yeah.
Yeah. I had a thought that I was going to, and I completely forgot what it was. It was a good one, though.
Well, this chair is quite an interesting LOA manifestation. So,
Oh, really?
do you have IKEA in America? I'm curious.
Oh,
Have
yes.
you ever-
Yeah, we
Okay,
have IKEA.
so you know exactly what I'm talking about when I say
Yep.
IKEA.
Hmm.
So my wife and I were wandering around IKEA to look for something else completely when we saw this chair. And I thought, that's great. My old chair is going, so I really need to get a new one. But not today because I've got a whole lot of other things to do. So we came back, and my wife was looking on one of the Facebook groups, local ones, and there somebody was selling a brand new, no, so not a brand new, had been sitting in the house for about 5 months, didn't want it anymore, so it was brand new, it hadn't been used, and I got it for £20. And I
Wow.
walked down the corner and picked it up, which is easier than going all the way down
Yeah, no kidding.
to IKEA and going picking it up. And I got it for like complete for almost nothing. And you've got the wastage thing. They didn't throw it in a dump and all the rest of it. So it really works, and I really love those kind of things. So
Yeah, that's beautiful.
it's interesting. So I put my focus on it, and I really appreciated it, and I left it and walked away. And because the law of attraction works fairly well for me at the moment, because when you're in a more positive place, things just tend to work for you so beautifully. The universal law of attraction picked up on it, and now when I'm appreciating things, I spend a little more time focusing on the appreciation of it.
Yes.
When I was wandering around, I was actually looking at the chair, sat in it, I swiveled it, and I was really like, I could enjoy this in my office. That's really cool. And I love the seat. I love the fact that you can take the arms off as well, because I always sit mostly in the lotus position, which I'm sitting in the moment. Because
Uh-huh.
most of my time I'm sitting in a lotus position on a chair. So I
Okay.
just don't want something with a back now and again, and sometimes I want to be straight backed. But I like the posture aspect of it. So I like a swivel chair. I like things that move backwards and forwards easily. There's one other thing that I'm visualizing at the moment is, although these wheels are really, really good, I want some of those rollerblade wheels for it.
Rollerblade wheels.
Yeah, so there's like soft jelly type rubbery things on the
Right.
rollerblade wheels. So you can buy them to replace in almost any chair.
Oh, no kidding. I didn't know
Yeah,
that.
so they don't damage your flooring and all the rest of it. So
Ah.
they're really easy to slide around.
Hmm.
Um, so that's another thing I'm busy manifesting at the moment. We'll see how
That's
they
good.
pop up.
Ah, I like it.
But another thing, my wife's been very clear about wanting a new box in the garden for her plants, and we always make them. So I went off to think about it, and my wife spends a lot of time focusing clearly on what she wants. So we went outside, we looked at the area, we looked at the measurements and all the rest of it, and we created a very clear picture of it and all the rest of it. And I said to her, it's really going to be challenging putting it together because I'm the guy who does most of the together stuff, and it it's not the easiest thing. So, which was an obstacle I was putting in my own way.
Sure.
That thought, and when we arrived at it, it was a little bit more challenging putting the box together, which I could have shortened that and made that a lot easier by clearer thinking. So when we were outside, there's this sheet that is covering a whole lot of my exercise bags outside because we needed the space somewhere else. So put it outside, put a nice little cover over it and all the rest of it, plastic cover. And when I was working with the tools in the garden to make this box, I put some tools on top, and I was thinking, God, I better not tear this plastic, because if I do, I'm going to damage the goods underneath because the rain and all the rest of it.
Mm.
So, of course, I damaged it.
Yep.
My wife said, "You should know better." And I said, "Yes, I should." It's like the
Darn, I can't
plastic
get
will
away
stay,
with anything.
the plastic will stay strong and safe and secure. It was not a thought in my mind. It was, I better not tear, which of course it
Yes.
tore. So,
Yep. It
um,
really is annoying, I tell you. I mean, I truly get annoyed by it. And of course, every time that I get annoyed by it, that ensures that I'm going to have more opportunities to be annoyed by it.
yeah. So it was really quite a lot of fun putting it together, and it looks absolutely brilliant. It's top notch. So we bought some decking, and this decking's guaranteed for 10 years. My wife wants something that's really solid, and we made a nice long box with two sides. Put it all together, drilled all the holes, put all the screws in. Made it really firm and tight and strong, and this will last many, 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 many years. And you
Hmm.
can't actually buy something like that, not with the exact dimensions, etc. You just can't go out and buy it.
Right.
Well, the amount we paid for the wood and all the rest of it was still quite excessive because we got the best quality we could. So we could get the duration, and it was really hard for that saw to saw through the through that high
Sure.
quality wood.
Yeah.
So, you know,
Hardwood.
it
Yeah.
was great. You know, at the end, we made it look absolutely spot on. It looked beautiful. You know, I even countersunk the screws the whole trip, you know. Um,
Good for you.
but
Good for
at
you.
the end, the satisfaction my wife and I felt of putting this thing together for a couple of hours in the afternoon was amazing. There's something about getting your hands dirty now and again. It's just so cool.
You sound like my
Because you
wife in
guys,
a sense, because my
yeah,
wife
because
is a
I was just
gardener.
about to say the same. You know, your wife's a gardener, can probably
Yeah.
appreciate that story.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, really, really, really enjoy that.
It's interesting too because this year is a little bit of a different year for us because of the illness that Louise went through. It took a lot out of
Of
her.
course, of
And
course.
so for the first time in years, she has not been excited about opening up the gardening season, which is a different experience. And of course, when you put yourself into a place of saying, well, I really don't want to do this, and this isn't going to be fun, and so forth, then the first few steps you find that you really don't want to be doing this, and it isn't going to be fun. And that's indeed what has happened. It's been kind of a challenge to kind of relax into it and to feel good about it and to say, you know what, everything's working out. And the goal, we have one main goal for the year and some minor goals, and that main goal is going to come true really soon. And get into that place of feeling good about what it is that we really want, which of
Yeah.
course is partly about knowing what it is that you want. This year, we don't have a problem with that one, actually. There are some years, where it's been a little bit less clear. This year, it was really, really clear what we wanted, and especially what she wanted, which is it's her
Mm,
business, so it's more important what she wants than anything else. My goal is to, and my job is to be there to support her in what it is that she wants. But
mm.
yeah, it's it's a funny thing how even when we're focusing on what it is that we really want, we still get dragged down into what we don't want. We allow ourselves to just shift our attention away and to start focusing on all the different ways that what we want isn't going to happen.
Mm.
And that's really where the battle lies, right there. In fact, calling it a battle makes it a battle, but that's where the struggle takes place. The struggle takes place in maintaining our focus literally on what we want. I mean, it sounds so straightforward. It sounds so simple to say you just focus on what you want. Doesn't that sound simple? It just sounds as easy as can be. And yet we find all the different kinds of ways to focus on anything but. It's really remarkable.
So, well, just imagine bringing up some kids with the law of attraction and having their kids bring up their kids with the law of attraction. You know, you can just see how the progression of the thought process, because we carry a lot of baggage from our parent upbringing. You know, an apple doesn't
Hmm.
fall too far from the tree. So we have
Right.
active vibrations of their teaching going on in us. And you know, it's going to become easier over generations and generations, I think. Of course, some generations may break away from it and hate it, and you know, and all the rest of it. So, you know, you've got all that to contend with. But I still think that, you know, looking at how big this law of attraction groups are, they're just massive. You know, you can
Mm.
see that people are really, really, having the law of attraction change their life, having the awareness of how to practically put it into their lives, absolutely blowing them away, on lengths and degrees. So, you know, I'm just excited to see how many people are getting into it and moving forward with it, and recognizing its influence in their lives. You know, it's to me, I'm so happy and proud of all those people doing that. I
That's a
hear
good
some
thing.
music in the background, which I'm quite unsure where it's coming from.
It may be coming from my head. Remember, I was playing Bohemian Rhapsody before, so no, seriously. Um,
I think
well,
I'm going to
as
have
you
to
were
close my browser. I can't even focus with that.
oh no.
Yeah, it did come from a browser. Maybe an ad popped up or something.
Ah, okay.
It's gone now.
Well, when you were talking about that, what was going through my head was the idea that all of life, all of physical experience, everything that we go through the universe, the people around us, our experiences, they're all acting as mirrors to what's going on in our head. So you know the concept
Yeah,
of
absolutely.
everything
Yeah,
being a
yeah.
big mirror.
Well, you create your
And
reality, so of course everything is a mirror.
everything is a
Every,
mirror, right?
everything's a
And
mirror of
and
your thinking. Yeah.
and as you were describing that little scenario there, it was like in my mind, all these mirrors were being put up. It's like I was seeing mirrors going up in
Hmm.
place. And every single thought that you identified, there was a new mirror. There was a new mirror. Mirrors, mirrors, mirrors. And then the phrase came into my mind, it's all done with mirrors,
Uh-huh.
which is a phrase that's usually associated with the world of sleight of hand, magicians, and so forth. You know, using
Okay.
mirrors in order to deceive you that you think
Mm-hmm.
something's going on when actually that's not what's really going on. Well, this is a different way of using mirrors. This is mirrors that you're using in order to know what's going on.
Hmm.
In other words, it's exactly the opposite of what a stage magician's show is all about. The stage magician is there to happily deceive you so that you're enjoying this thing that really isn't going on, but you think that it is. Whereas when we're using the mirrors, we're using them, at least we're trying to learn to use them, to create something that we do know is going on, and in knowing it, it actually goes on. It's a similar tool, but it's used differently.
Well, the illusionist, what are they doing? Uh, you're still perceiving exactly what you want, aren't you? You go to a magician to see
Oh, sure.
magic, and
Oh, yeah.
so you're not really being deceived. You're getting what you want. You know,
Oh,
you're
absolutely. Yeah.
manifesting the illusion. They've
Yeah.
actually got
No, it's
nothing
true.
much to do with it.
Well, the illusion is part of where we find the entertainment, the enjoyment.
Well, you take in a magician sitting in an audience watching another magician. He's going to know what's going on. He's not going to see it.
Hmm.
He's going to see through it. So he's going to see. He's going to know what he's going to see a different reality, isn't he?
Well, yeah. I mean that there was a television show I remember that aired. It may still be on. I don't know. Here in the U.S., featuring Penn and Teller, the magicians, and they were the goal of the show was to have people come onto the show, contestants come onto to the show, and try to perform magic acts that Penn and Teller couldn't see through,
Mm.
which is an interesting thing. That's basically it. What I was thinking about what it's like from their perspective. From their
Mm.
perspective, they were looking to see if there was somebody who could entertain them, and nobody could entertain them because they kept seeing all the tricks. So I
so
guess there
so
was sort of a sort of a twisted entertainment going on. You can't entertain me. Go on, I challenge you. You can't do it.
you'll probably find somebody who's damn good at the law of attraction will blow their socks off. Wow, that happened, that happened, that happened. And you're not on stage and you didn't practice it. Because truly, I mean, all the things Christ did, etc., they're all clarity on the law of attraction, you know.
Mm, yeah.
This is somebody who truly understands how to use the law of attraction. And and there are some people that are absolutely brilliant at it. They're absolutely brilliant.
Um, this is the second. Now, this is the same topic I had before. It just slipped away again, but I'm going to get it back this time. I know I hate it when that happens. But all right.
I'm
Oh
good at
yes.
sidetracking, sorry.
No, no, no. It's not you. I'm doing it. Um, there is a growing consensus going on within what I will call alternative circles. So it's all people who are involved in the law of attraction, deliberate creation, but also expand it out to the other, what you might call the new age stuff. Um, Anything from the astrologists and the numerologists to energy healers to, I mean, just expand it out to all the different people who are doing alternative modalities. There's a growing consensus among that larger community that there is an energy shift going on Earth. And you've even referenced it through Abraham. How Abraham says that time period, the delay, the amount of time we have to focus on something before we get a new thought has reduced, I think, from 17 to 14 seconds, he
Yeah.
said.
Yeah.
So that's kind of indicative of it, that there is an energy shift toward the positive that's been going on, and the consensus seems to be that it's accelerating. And that was the part I wanted to ask you about. First of all, I think the answer is probably yes, but do you see an energy shift going on, or do you feel it, or do you experience it? And second, do you think it's accelerating? Do you think more and more people are coming into their own energetically through their own focus, taking control of their own minds, understanding how this stuff works? And is it happening at an accelerated pace?
Well, Walt, illusions. How many people live on this planet?
Okay. Well, that answers my question, but I think we should probably answer for the audience. So,
What's the
how many
answer,
people?
Walt?
Well, let's see. Depending on which way you want to look at it, there's either roughly 7 to 8 billion or one. Either way.
Well, if you read your illusions again, there is only one.
There's only one according to illusions. This is true.
Hmm.
Yep.
Because as soon as Richard Bach said to Donald Shimoda, there's one, and he was very impressed. And he said, "I'm going to go buy you breakfast. This is, you've really progressed, and this is great." And he said, "And 8 billion others." And he said, "Oh, no, no, forget about it." So when people are perceiving this perspective, and we've talked about this before, that the world is moving faster, what they're really perceiving is themselves moving faster, themselves being more in the positive place.
Hmm.
If you were in a very negative person's body, mind, and living their experience, you would come to a conclusion that the world's going to shit. And it's going further down, and it's getting worse.
There are a lot of
Okay.
people who have expressed that view, actually.
Exactly.
Hmm.
So you start understanding that this whole idea that the whole world is increasing, etc. The ships that pass in the night, like you and I, who spend a few minutes together on a podcast, are even the amount of time I spend thinking about Walt and what he's saying is minimal compared to the amount of time I'm thinking about my relationship between me and my stuff.
This is true.
Okay. So 99% of everything is between you and you.
Hmm.
And there's a little bit of ships in the dark where we bump into each other as worlds. Okay. So yes, in my world, absolutely, Walt, it's definitely going much better and everything's great. But I can tell you, for somebody else, it's not. The world is going to pot and it's falling downhill. And I spoke to a guy the other day about this. We were walking down from school. It was one of the dads, and he likes bumping into me and chatting to me on the way down. And he said to me, Louis, I just listened to the news again today, and there's this war and that war, and there's the fighting, and this is that, and that's all the rest of it. And Satan's got a huge grip on this planet and all the rest of it. And I said, well, that's not actually my perspective. I think the world's going a lot better and all the rest of it, but I understand where you're coming from. I said to him, how much do you listen to the news? Oh, every day I get the newspaper and I listen to it. And I said, okay. So, are you aware that your thoughts create your reality? And, so you go on and on, you get the picture.
Hmm.
And we had the conversation again about, he said, with Satan and hell. And I said, well, how do you get rid of Satan? He said, well, what do you mean? I said, well, you seem to have a big problem with this Satan that's all powerful and all the rest of it. So I said, how do you get rid of him? So he's confused. He said, oh, no. I said, how am I giving him love? What do you mean? I said, well, do you think Satan can handle the vibration of love? Do you think he can survive in the vicinity of pure positive energy? He was like, well, I suppose no. I said, so if you think about Satan and you give him love, you destroy him, don't you? Because pure positive energy can't live in pure negative energy. Law of attraction, it doesn't work like that.
Hmm.
This doesn't work like that. So you can destroy him. And he's like, oh, okay, oh. I said, yeah, now go tell your priest to stand up and say to everybody, love Satan. No,
Oh,
that's not
that's
quite
funny.
going to happen tomorrow.
Probably not going to happen in that way either.
But you know,
That's a great joke. I like that. Except it wasn't a joke; it was real. But still, it's a good joke.
it was funny. I
Oh,
thought it was funny at the
very
time.
good. It
So,
is funny. You have to have the right
but when
perspective in order to laugh at it, but it's
exactly,
very funny.
exactly. But a lot of people are starting to get that. They're starting to get that, A, there is no Satan. The only Satan there is when you're focusing on what you don't want.
Mm,
Um, and, and when you spend more time there, you amplify it, and then more things that you don't want, so
mhm.
happen. And it's really no more complicated than that, but we weren't brought up that way. We got old thinking to deprogram, new thinking to program. So that there's a process that goes on, which is brilliant because once you get it, you become more empowered. You can start focusing on what you want. You start getting more of it, and everything starts working out better for you. And you get so excited, and you're just jumping up and down after a while. And you're like, why are they unhappy? What's Satan got anything to do with anything? And you don't even bump into them anymore because you're not vibrationally harmonious to that. When he was talking about all this, I must have been on quite a low vibration for him even to start the conversation, or he was at a point where he was ready to change, and he was. I mean, by the time we had finished at the bottom of the road, he was really with me. He was really, you know, um, in complete agreement with me, and he was starting to have the idea that he was going to cut down a lot of the news that he was watching and all the rest of it. So I thought, that's a great place to start. Brilliant. I strongly encourage you to do that. Start reading some self-development. Start getting him onto the other side. And I didn't get around to pointing LOA out, but on another walk, who knows where we'll go
Yeah,
from there. And
yeah.
and 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 endlessly, individuals are starting to around me are starting to want a greater explanation of the law of attraction, and that's where I really enjoy sharing and teaching. It's my passion. So yeah, and I bump into these guys all the time, and I really appreciate it because that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking to help people um, expand, and more important, I'm looking to enjoy myself. Not really looking to change people so much. More looking to have people who are a vibrational match and who want to know a bit more.
Well, that's actually wise. I think you've expressed wisdom in a very short phrasing there, because it's literally impossible for us to change anybody else. The only
Mm.
person who can change the other person is them. So, very smart of you for saying, you know what, I'm not going to try to change people anyway. That's a good thing. That's a great breakthrough. Like, that's what I've been realizing. Like, I don't really want to change people. I mean, I want to find like-minded people. I enjoy that.
But
I'd
we
like
can
to find
say we
more.
can say statements like, "I've changed you, Walt." We can use that egotistical phrase, "I've changed you." Or we can say, "Walt changed himself because of me."
I'm getting out my magic wand. I'm changing Louis. I'm changing Louis.
I'm a frog now. I need that princess to kiss me. Um,
Don't tell your wife that.
why not?
Well, maybe she's a
It could be the
princess.
princess.
That's possible. Yes, that's true.
Um, I'm very fortunate. My wife is very uh, she lets me go and speak to anybody because I'm often surrounded because of my business with females businesses and she really gives me complete reign, and it's enjoyable because it's vice versa as well. I mean, she can do pretty much anything she wants, and in the end of the day, there's only one thing that's important to me in a relationship. Do you still want to be with a partner or not?
Hmm.
Everything else is immaterial.
This is true. Yeah, and it's actually a daily decision. That I mean, that's what I find. I find myself answering the same way every day,
Yeah,
but every day the decision comes to me, and like, yep, yep, yep,
yeah,
yep. It's always
yeah.
yes,
And
yep,
one day it may be no. It's just the way
possible,
it might be. Yeah,
possible, but I doubt it because I keep saying yep, 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 and so the
exactly.
law of attraction
And the
says,
law of
okay,
attraction
well.
will amplify it. Yeah,
Hey,
must have.
Nasha is often, sharing a lot of stuff, and I don't often take the time to go through her stuff and read it on the show, but I figured this is a good time to do it. Why do I figure that? I don't know. It just seems like a good time.
Well,
But
she
I
has
just,
had a bit of a breakthrough recently, which I perceived there. Yeah,
she has had a
great,
breakthrough, and she's been trying to
fantastic.
express it here. And I think I just wanted to kind of touch on some of the stuff that she talked about because she raises a couple of interesting points that tie in directly to what we've been talking about. Now I'm kind of cutting off part of what she started with, but she says, I'm seriously feeling like I was sleeping from the year 2011 until now, and yet everything was there in the open. I've been very hard and harsh on myself. I just realized during the war attack that she lives in Pakistan, so
Yeah,
she's
yeah, yeah.
what's going on with India and Pakistan. That was a real awakening call. I'm going through a breakthrough, and I was unaware of why I was getting to see my ex, but it was only about him. It was not only about him, it was also in my dreams that I tracked him down and tell him all I wanted to. Earlier, I would just see him like he vanished on me, that he was never there. I can't believe we human beings can be so stuck in something and not see beyond the hurt. When asked of a person you're dealing with, no, I'll cut that part out. I realized I realized certain more things at home. They kept on fooling me, and now I can see it. And I read that section because of two things. First of all, the way she's expressing things there is the way we humans typically express things. We express things as if it's the outside circumstances that are causing us to do things. And that's very common. I do it myself. I do it a lot on the podcast. But the simple fact is, I did all those things. I created all those things, or in her case, she did. I'm the one who's making all those things happen. I'm the one who's focusing on those things. And I really like the fact that she pointed out I've been very hard and harsh on myself. I've been pointing the same thing out about myself. I've been pointing the same thing out about people. But it also occurs to me that if I keep saying that, I'm going to get more and more of it. So
Mm.
it's time perhaps to turn it around to I am gentle on myself. I'm kind to myself. I approve of myself. I love myself. I feel good about myself. I approve of what I've been thinking of. I like where I've been
Huge,
going.
huge breakthrough. It's not to be underestimated how much of a change that is. So we may know the end where she should be, but if she's just going from, let's say, revenge to rage, it's a big step.
It's a
It's a big,
huge
big
step.
steps, and it must be
Yeah.
appreciated.
Yeah.
You see, so a lot of people would say, Nasha, you've got to go all the way to be happy, and you've got to forgive them, and blah 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 blah. But that's maybe too far. And just moving up the scale, it's fantastic. I mean, it's huge. And if we as humans can appreciate more the small changes, which is a vibrationally, which are not that small, they're actually huge, but if we can appreciate going from a negative emotion to a higher negative emotion more, if we can really get the clarity of seeing that in people, if somebody's depressed and they're going to revenge, and you actually appreciate that instead of saying, "Oh no, no, that's terrible," Here, take some more drugs because we want to make you more docile again and get you more depressed again, so that you're not revengeful. So,
Mm,
um, you know, we really need to get to that place of appreciating the scale of the emotions and living with them and working with them. I'm very excited about Nasha and all those people that are changing from the really low. And there's a huge depressed culture looking at the law of attraction group,
oh yeah.
um, that would benefit massively from going to the revenge rage, um, frustration, don't care. Going through those, that would benefit so much. But a lot of people would be saying to them, "Oh, get happy and get happy, think happy thoughts," but that's not
It's too far.
vibrationally viable. It's not
Yeah.
it's not good. So, Nasha,
You
I'm really
can't think happy
appreciating
thoughts.
you sharing your progression online and being accurate about it, because
Yeah.
it really helps show us,
Yeah.
the progression and where you are and how it works. So just keep going up the scale, up the scale, up the scale.
Absolutely. That's exactly right. Yeah. That's the point I was going to make. When you're in that depressed state, happy isn't even in view.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just not even within the realm of perception. You just can't even see it. Can't hear
But
it,
not.
can't feel it, can't touch it. It's not even there. But what you can reach is frustrated because that's higher up the scale, but it's not
Mm.
top reach. That one you can see. That one you can experience.
Yeah, frustration is was, well, and still is to a degree, a huge companion of my life. Huge, um, huge. I always perceive that I could be doing this better, that better,
I think we all do.
something. Yeah, which is fine as long as we don't spend too much time on it, and we
Well, that's
spend
it.
more time where we're going.
That's it
Yeah,
right there. Yeah.
yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
you talked beautifully about how important it is to climb that scale and not be afraid of the fact that you're in a negative end of the scale. Well, the way to do that is, I mean, it's like you're in depression and you want to move up to anger. Do you want to move up to anger because you want to carry out your anger on somebody else? No, you just want to get to the anger because it's higher up on the scale. It doesn't mean that you want to go act it out on everybody. It just
But
means
you
you want to
can
get
act it
there.
out on people, and it still
Well,
will feel a lot better than where you were. And again, you're only going to act it out on those people that are vibrational match,
well, that's
those
true.
people that allow it to happen to them. So it's not like you can force yourself on anybody else. They have to be a vibrational match, or you just won't appear at that time when you're angry. It just won't happen. So don't
This
worry
is
too
true, though.
much about who
But
lands up
yeah.
in your firing range, because that is who is supposed to land up in your firing range.
That's true, but there's also the flip side of it, which is you don't want to spend a lot of time. At least I would not want to. I'm going to speak for myself. I won't speak for everybody else. I would not want to spend a lot of time in any of those places because I really don't want to dump my anger on somebody else. I really don't want to take revenge out on somebody else. Even if they're vibrational matches, like I don't want that because if I do, I know I'm just going to bring more of it to me. My goal isn't to stay there in order to bring more of it on me. My goal is to get there so I can climb higher up on the ladder, not to stay at the lower rungs. I don't want to stay in those lower rungs. And I think that's where
Well,
most people really want
I'm
to get to.
looking
They
at
want to
my
get higher up.
frustration there, and I've spent a lot of time there, a lot of time in frustration, a lot of time, and I've vented that frustration on others over the time. And I'd love to say I don't want to stay there, I don't want to stay there, but I'm there. So on some subjects I'm there, and I have to appreciate that very it and then looking for I don't care, which is something that has been very strong in my life, as I don't care. Very strong from as young as I remember, and I never appreciated how high up on the scale it was.
Yeah,
I mean, it's just before the positive emotion. I don't
right.
care.
Yeah. Hmm.
Just there. It's right in the middle.
Hmm.
Um, so, you know, from frustration to I don't care has happened many, many times for me. Many, 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 many times. And then from I don't care to hope. It's a huge leap. It's a huge leap, and I'm really appreciating that now. And then from hope to expectation is something I'm on some subjects I'm playing with. But I wouldn't say I've gone much further than that at the moment. I'm really just playing in the I don't care to hope side, mostly at the moment. And on some subjects I'm still down on the frustration. It's definitely, but being clear about where you are is also important, especially on different subjects,
Hmm.
so that you can say, okay, I'm on this subject, I'm in frustration. This one I'm on don't care. This one I'm in hope. This one I'm in expectation, and this one I'm really loving. I'm excited about. So, like sharing the law of attraction. So, uh, just putting those pieces together and being more aware of them, and specifically on what subject. I keep on saying the same things again, but it is really important. Know what subject and where you're at on the vibrational scale. And then don't necessarily, if that subject's too big, like the war in Iran, in Pakistan, is really getting me down. It's not a subject to focus on. If you can see that, wouldn't it be nice if there was peace, but you can't follow that rocket of desire, then change the subject.
Mm.
Change the subject to something that you love.
Hmm.
It's got nothing to do with the war whatsoever. So just leave it behind. Leave it
And
behind.
that
And
has
then
a double benefit because first of all, it takes you off the subject of the war, and second of all, it takes
raises
you
your
off the subject
vibration.
of not feeling good. Yeah, so you're doing two things at
Mm.
once, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a very valuable tool. This past
Cool.
Thursday, Steve Rowell, who's also from the UK and he's a life coach, was unable to make it for the regular podcast on Thursday afternoon, and so he
I
actually
don't think I've
arranged.
listened to him.
Oh, you got to listen to Steve. Yeah, you like him. He's good. But Steve, this is I think the second time that he couldn't make it to the podcast, so he actually arranged a substitute, which is I mean that's
Yeah, yeah.
practically it was pretty cool. I mean Linda's done that. She just did it this past Friday too, because she wasn't feeling well. But he sent me somebody. He sent me two people actually this past Thursday, Brenda and Jess, and they were both fabulous. But I'm going to point specifically to Brenda. Brenda Florida is her name. She lives here in the U.S. She lives, I believe, in Colorado. Um, I think she's in Colorado. Can't remember for sure. Anyway, that's not the point. The point is she was telling me about this psychiatrist here in the U.S., apparently very, very famous in psychiatric circles, who in the second half of his career, wherever the second half starts, has been focusing on spirituality and vibration and this kind of thing. Not so much law of attraction, but just trying to
Mm.
understand how the spiritual components work. And using muscle testing on a variety of subjects, he has been able to piece together the idea that there is a logarithmic scale of vibration, and that he measures it. I don't remember what the units are, but he measures it in a numeric scale of like a vibration of 100, a vibration of 200, 300,
Yeah,
so forth.
yeah. I've seen the chart. Yeah,
You've seen that one, okay.
yeah.
And each step up the chart, it isn't actually a numeric increase, it's a logarithmic increase. So it's like a hyperbolic curve going up there.
Right.
And
One
when you were
person
talking,
is more in alignment, is more powerful than millions who aren't, starts making
right,
sense.
right.
Yeah, yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So when you were talking about how step from I don't know to hopeful is such a huge step, that's what I was thinking about. I was thinking about that hyperbolic
Of the
aspect to it.
exponential
Yeah.
aspect to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she actually now she told a story. This is what I wanted to ask you about. She told a story about how she had had an experience one time. She didn't go into detail about it, um, but she had had this experience where she had, through some approach or other, for some reason she was able to focus on the right way. I don't know what, but she had risen high up into the scale. Now apparently 500 and above is pure spirit. 500 below is earthly form, and she'd risen well above 500.
Hmm.
And it had scared her so much, and she was so unprepared foundationally at the lower levels that she got up there and then she crashed. And the crash, she described it in a way that sounded like it was traumatic. It was a very traumatic crash, and it scared the daylights out of her.
Hmm.
And I wanted to ask you about that to ask you, well, first of all, have you ever experienced anything like that? I can't say I've ever experienced anything like that. But secondly, do you think that that kind of crash happens more often than not when someone experiences rising up for the first time after being in these the nether regions for as long as we tend to in this physical life? Do you think that that's a common experience, or do you think that's uncommon, or does it matter? Maybe it doesn't even matter, but what do you think about it?
Well, what's our teacher in the physical universe, Walt?
What's our teacher?
Yeah.
That's a broad question. What's
No,
our
it's a very simple one. Go down to basics. Don't get stuck in the word teacher.
our own experience, I guess.
Contrast.
All right.
Okay. So when you experience pure positive energy and you're sitting in your vortex and you can see everything you want and ideas are flowing to you and it's awesome and it's amazing and you know you can have, be or do anything you want, and then suddenly you're thrown into your, how am I going to get that? When am I going to get that? Why hasn't it happened yet? Why am I not feeling like that anymore? It is a massive contrast. Massive contrast, and it is
Mm,
really unpleasant. Okay,
yeah.
so that's what
It's,
you find. Law of attraction people are spending a lot more time, um, are starting to feel incredibly negative emotion once they start dipping down, and it's
mhm,
strong. Okay, it's like, whoa, I don't want to do that anymore. I don't want to go there. It's not right. It doesn't feel good, and it's terrible. And I want to get out of it quickly. And you're
mm,
clear about it, and that's because you spend a lot of time on the positive. more positive areas, and when you dip in, it's like, ah, this is not for me. I'm not a vibrational match to that anymore. I want out. I want out. I want out. But it's strong. It's really strong,
Mm-hmm.
and that's all she's experiencing. And just to give you an example of something I did experience once. So I'd studied the spiritual path where you learn to go into this definition of the word spiritual as well. So you learn to channel the Holy Spirit, which is not Holy Spirit, which we call the Word, the
Mm-hmm.
pure positive energy, the source energy. You channel. You open yourself up to the pure positive energy, which means you become a vibrational match to it. Okay. So we're taught to do that, and we do spiritual exercises to increase your vibration, etc., etc. So I was lying in the bed one day, and I went to sleep. I woke up sometime at night, and I felt this huge black force pressing down on my chest, and it was almost like an entity. Okay, and it completely paralyzed me. I couldn't move a single muscle.
Mm.
I was 100% awake, 100% paralyzed.
Wow.
Okay. So I tried with all my might to move a single finger or an arm or anything. I couldn't move anything. And this force that was pushing down on me was so black and horrible. Ooh. So then I thought, okay, I give up, because trying with my power, my strength is not working. So let me open myself up to the source energy, the spirit energy, and let it just flow through me. And because my desire to get out of this was so strong, because of the fear that this entity had generated with me, I became more scared of the power of the source energy than I was of this entity by the time it was
Wow.
finished. It blew this thing to pieces and poured through me like this huge waterfall, just pouring through me. Every millimeter of my body was glowing and full of
Wow.
energy, and I was so scared of it that I wanted to shut that off too, which I managed to do. But it was giving me an idea of the contrast going on there. So, I was actually thinking of bringing that story up sometime in the podcast, and you gave me a perfect opening to do it. So yes, it's just really a contrast thing. So again, because I was really on a very negative vibration, I found out later that that is a typical witch doctor attack on an individual in South Africa, in Africa. That black force, waking up, frozen, can't move, etc. Everything I experienced was atypical a witch doctor attack. Or, somebody can pay a witch doctor to attack an individual out there, and that's the kind of thing that they do. But I never had that ever happen to me again. Nobody came near me again. I don't think. If anybody was actually attacking me and it wasn't me attacking me, then, which it really was in a way. The interesting thing was that I never knew that this was anything atypical. I never heard about it or anything at a witch doctor. That was an atypical scenario of how they would attack somebody.
Atypical. Why atypical?
Well, I don't know what the word atypical means. I thought it meant typical.
Oh, no, atypical is the opposite. Unusual.
Oh, typical. Sorry. Okay. No, then I've been using it wrong for quite a while. Yeah, thanks for correcting me.
Oh, well. Hey, that's all right.
So quite a typical method of which they use. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, when
So,
you were describing that, and actually, I see we only have about a minute or two left, so we have to be a little quick here, but it reminded me of a positive experience I had with Linda Armstrong. There was one particular day where she was working with me, but she was working with all of our audience at the same time. It was sort of a meditation kind of a thing. But she came to me saying, well, first of all, can I come to you? I said yes. She came to me energetically, and I
mhm.
actually experienced her energy coming to me. Now, she was coming to me in a very positive energy, so it felt really, really good.
Mhm.
But I was impressed, literally impressed by how powerful that energy surge was.
Mhm.
So I'm asking myself, if somebody tried to come at me with an energy surge that was entirely negative, what would that be like? I could see how that would actually be, where you can't move, where you just feel totally immobilized. Then I could see
Mhm.
that. On the other hand, I can also see exactly what you described, that it does make sense to me that when you can let the source energy in, I love the way you phrased that. You were more afraid of the source energy than you were of the thing that was attacking you. Like, really interesting way
Well,
to
you're
describe
dealing with the power that creates worlds, Walt. You're not playing with a toy.
it. So, I mean, it's an interesting way to use law of attraction because you were in a state of fear, so you used fear to your best advantage. You used
Yeah,
fear by saying, "Yeah,
yeah.
I'm more afraid of the source energy than I am of this black thing." Like, oh, okay, here you go.
It was very liberating for a while having the black um, force
Really?
quickly and immediately removed.
Mm.
But then the power of the source energy was just pouring through so strongly for so long afterwards that I was like, ah.
So
But
it
that
was
was also
overwhelming then.
really great experience. That's something
Yeah.
I'll never forget. Yeah. Don't regret either side of the story or anything. It's
Well,
just
I I mean, we like to end our episodes on a high. That sounds like about as high as we've ever ended on. So we'll just end it right there. That's a good one.
fantastic.
But this has been great. Thank you so much. And thank you to our live stream audience and to our podcast audience. By the way, if you're not a subscriber, be sure to become one. You can find the instructions at our website, loatoday.net. And Louis, I'll be talking to you a week from this morning.
Yeah, fantastic. Carpe diem. Cheers,
All right.
guys. Have a great one.
We'll see you all next time here on LOA Today. Goodbye, everybody.
Goodbye.